One day we will live with Christ for all of eternity. Hey everybody, welcome to The Whole Truth, where I am taking you through the entire Bible from Genesis all the way to Revelation without skipping anything. So if that sounds good to you, make sure that you reach down, hit the little subscribe button below, and don't forget you can go over to thewholetruthbiblestudies.com, and there you'll find all the videos in one convenient location, plus this very special Bible study that is closing today. I'm kind of a little sad that it's closing, but it's been a lot of work, and that's why it took me a few weeks to get it all the way done. But this is all put together in a nice, neat little package of 8 parts. There's an 8-part series to this. We're at part 8 today, 8 of 8. It says, part 8 of 8. Okay, so it's part 8 of 8 today, where we are dealing with today the last of the sacrifices that were commanded to Israel. God in Numbers chapter 28 and 29, he said, here are the sacrifices, here are the feast days and the sacrifices that accompany them that I want Israel to follow. And we saw all of the spring days. We saw all of the offerings. There was a morning and evening offering, a weekly offering, a monthly offering. There was the Passover offering. There was the offering of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And then you fast forwarded 50 days and you had the Feast of Weeks. And then you fast forwarded 4 months and you ended up in those September, those fall feast. And that was trumpets and the Day of Atonement. But now we're at the last one. It is the Feast of Tabernacles. What is the Feast of Tabernacles? Well, let's read about the sacrifices that went with it, and then we'll talk about the Feast of Tabernacles as well. So you can go grab that Bible study, print it out for free, or you could buy the book if you want to do that. You grab that, and I need you to do this as well. This is the most important thing. Open up your Bibles to Numbers chapter 29, and then find verse 12. Numbers chapter 29 and find verse 12. On the 15th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no customary work, and you shall keep a feast to the Lord 7 days. You shall present a burnt offering, an offering made by fire as a sweet aroma to the Lord, 13 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year. They shall be without blemish. Their grain offering shall be of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for each of the 13 bulls, 2/10 for each of the 2 rams, and 1/10 for each of the 14 lambs. Also a kid of the goats is a sin offering besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. Now look at verse 17. On the 2nd day, present 12 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offering for the bulls and for the rams and for the lambs that by their number according to the ordinance. Also 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering besides the regular burnt offering with its grain offering and their drink offerings. Now verse 20, listen. On the 3rd day, present 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, their grain offering, their drink offerings, the bulls for the rams and for the lambs by their number according to the ordinance. Also 1 goat as a sin offering besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. Now verse 23, on the 4th day, present 10 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offering. The bulls for the drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs by their number according to the ordinance. Also 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering besides the regular burnt offering and its offerings and its drink offerings. Then on the 5th day, present 9 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls and for the rams and for the lambs by their number according to the ordinance. Also 1 kid of the goat as a sin offering besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. Now verse 29, on the 6th day present 8 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls and for the rams and for the lambs by their number according to the ordinance. Also 1 kid of the goat as a sin offering besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. And on the seventh day, verse 32, on the seventh day, present 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offering for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs by their number according to the ordinance. Also 1 kid of the goat as a sin offering besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offerings, and its drink offerings. And on the 8th day you shall have a sacred assembly. You shall do no customary work. You shall present a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, a sweet aroma to the Lord, 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 lambs in their first year without blemish. And their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bull, for the ram, and for the lambs by their number according to the ordinance. Also 1 goat as a sin offering besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. These you shall present to the Lord at your appointed feast, besides your vowed offerings and your freewill offerings, as a burnt offering of your grain offerings, as your drink offerings and your peace offerings. So Moses told the children of Israel everything just as the Lord commanded Moses. Whew, now that was a mouthful, but did you catch it? Did you see what was happening? It's the first question on your PDF. The number of the bulls to be sacrificed decreased by 1 each day. Why did God do that? Now, this is very interesting. If you read that, it's almost like reading those first lines. It was almost like reading the lines to the 12 days of Christmas. You know, on the 12th day of Christmas, what's 12? I don't even know. I don't know what 12. I should know. No, I don't know 8 either. I don't know what they are. I don't know the 12 days of Christmas. That's beyond the point. Now stick with me. In Numbers chapter 29, what did we see? Is that the number was decreasing of bulls. It starts out with, verse 12, we start on the 15th day of the month. That's when it's going to start. And you shall present an offering of 13 bulls. So we start out with 13 bulls on the first day. And this feast is going to last for 7 days. And what's going to happen is each day it's going to decrease. As they have the 7-day Feast of Tabernacles, it's going to decrease the number of bulls. Now, everything else stays the same, but the number of bulls will decrease by 1. 13 on the first day, 12 the second day, 11 the third day, 10 the fourth day. Each day, the number of bulls is decreasing. Why might this be? Well, I believe that because this is a 7-day feast, it is speaking of 7 is the number of perfection. And notice we jump from the 7th day, we jump on the 8th day, only 1 bull was to be sacrificed. There's a big jump. We don't continue to go on. So we had 13 and 12 and 11 and 10 and 9 and 8. But then we get down to the 7th day, or the 7th to the 8th day, and only 1 bull was sacrificed. And I believe that what we see God doing is almost like marking like a countdown. Like he's marking that one day these sacrifices will be over. One day there will be no need for these sacrifices. We're counting down to those. Now, number 2, what was the Feast of Tabernacles commemorating? Why were they doing this? When we call this like the Feast of Tabernacles, what was actually happening? Well, in ancient Israel, when they were delivered out of Egypt, they went to Mount Sinai, and then they were supposed to go, the Israelite people were supposed to go into the Promised Land. We've been reading about this. They refused to go in the Promised Land, so they had to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. And that time in the wilderness, they dwelt in tabernacles. They dwelt in tents. And so they are commemorating at the Feast of Tabernacles, they are commemorating that time of living in tents. And so later on, they're supposed to build tents, like make a little tent city. They would call them like a booth, like a booth that you would sit under, or a hut. So this was the feast. I have a little funny story for you. One time I was preaching about this because of the book of Nehemiah. They stopped doing this. They weren't doing this. And then the book of Nehemiah, they realized they weren't doing this and that they should be doing it. So they started doing it. Like the whole nation started doing this. They would take 7 days, a whole week out of the year, and everybody would go and dwell in a tent. But I was calling it the Feast of, and I was trying to say booths, but it with my little country accent, it comes out, I would say the Feast of Booths. But people in my congregation, there was one guy who was like, did he say the Feast of Booze? like booze, like alcohol? So no, so I'm just going to say the Feast of Tabernacles, okay? The Feast of Tabernacles, dwelling in tents for 7 days. That's what everybody is supposed to be doing. That's what it's commemorating. So question 3, how did Jesus fulfill this feast? Well, number 1, understand that he initially fulfilled it in that Jesus Christ, the Word, became flesh and tabernacled among us. He dwelt among us. He stayed with us. But that is not the complete fulfillment of this. There is a prophetic fulfillment. It's the next question on your page. What is the prophetic significance of this feast that we still wait for? And that is the second coming of Christ. You see, these 3 fall feasts, the Feast of Trumpets, the trumpet will sound, and that will assemble all of the Jewish people together. The feast, the Day of Atonement, a day of affliction, that is going to be the tribulation period. And at the end of the tribulation period, what do we see? The Feast of Tabernacles. Jesus is going to come and dwell here on this earth again. You see, here's the deal. Jesus is coming a second time. He has come once to die for our sins and to offer us new life. But Jesus told us that we shouldn't fear, that if he was going to leave, he was preparing a place for us. And if it wasn't so, he would have told us. And if he goes and prepares a place for us, then one day he's going to come and receive us and take us to where he is. One day Jesus is coming again. And when he comes again, the earth is not going to be completely perfect when he comes again. That's not the way that the Bible reads it. It actually reads that Jesus is coming again and he is going to rule on this earth for 1,000 years while Satan is locked up. But then Satan's going to be loosed again. And then there's going to be this great battle. And that is when God is going to finally destroy the earth. And then John saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had passed away. Peter, the apostle, also saw this. He talked about the great day of the Lord, and the earth was going to burn up. The earth is going to burn up with a fervent heat. So that's going to happen too, but that is after Jesus' second coming. Jesus will come again and he will dwell with us. Now you say, Justin, do you believe that Jesus is coming in the physical body, that he is physically going to dwell here on this earth with us? And my answer to that is absolutely. I truly believe Jesus will come in the flesh. Why do I believe that? Because he came the first time. He said he was going to come. God prophesied this for all those years, and then Jesus came and fulfilled that. Will Jesus come a second time? I absolutely believe that Jesus will come a second time and he will rule here on this earth for 1,000 years in his second coming. And that is prophesied in the Feast of Tabernacles. So the next question is this, question 5. What does it seem like there are a lot of animals sacrificed for this feast, and why? And I believe that, well, first of all, I don't just believe, there are a ton of animals sacrificed in this feast. I mean, 13 bulls, then 12 bulls. That's what, 25? The next day, 11 more. That's what, 36? The next day, another 10, 46. The next day, another 9, 55. I mean, that's a lot of bulls being sacrificed in a 7-day period. That's not to mention all of the rams and all of the lambs that are being sacrificed. And that's not to mention what happens on the 8th day. So why are all of these animals being sacrificed? Well, there are lots of reasons, but let me give you a few. Let me enumerate a few for you. Number 1, it signifies how great of a salvation Jesus has offered. What a great sacrifice he has made. The blood of bulls and goats and heifers could never atone for sin. Not completely. So it had to be so much. There was so much because there were so many people that were being saved. Imagine for the Israelite people as they thought about their whole nation wandering through the wilderness, a couple of million people in the wilderness, and God took care of them through all of that. Jesus Christ, he has died once and for all. For the millions and millions of people who will put their faith in him, his death counts. It was a great death. It was a great salvation. It was a great sacrifice. That also speaks to the number of people as well. I mean, there's a whole lot of people that were coming to this feast. The whole nation, the book of Nehemiah, the whole nation of Israel, all of the nation came together to dwell in tents for these 7 days. So yes, it's a lot of bulls, but it's also because and a lot of other animals that are being sacrificed, but it's because it's for a whole lot of people. And may we take that as a reminder that Christ's death is for all who will believe. So that's for you and me as well. That's for the Jew and for the Gentile. And so it's signifying the great sacrifice that he made and the great number of people that he is bringing in. And then lastly, I believe that this number of 7 as a number of perfection, and this number of bulls and heifers, or excuse me, I should say bulls and rams and lambs, all these things that are being sacrificed, and all of the grain that's being offered, all of these offerings at the Feast of Tabernacles, they represent one more thing: his kingdom that will last forever and forever. You see, it is the number of completion, and it is a fact that Jesus is offering us eternity with him. What Jesus offers us is eternal life that never ends. And so I believe that what we're seeing in this feast, the reason there are so many animals that are sacrificed in this feast is because it speaks of how long this will last, how long this sacrifice that Christ has made for us will last. And the answer to that is all of eternity. The number of completion, it's a 7-day feast. And at the end of that 7 days, on the 8th day is a holy convocation, and only one bull would be sacrificed on that day, because it represented that the day would come that Jesus Christ would die for us, and his death would be once and for all and forever, and it would be complete in him. You see, one day Jesus is going to return, and then even though that's all going to burn up, that's not all going to burn up as in punishment for you and I. No, that's all going to burn up because John saw the new city of Jerusalem coming down like a bride adorned for her husband. And we, friends, are the bride of Christ, who are going to dwell with him forever and forever. There's going to be no more pain, no more tears, no more sorrow, no more crying. There's going to be no time there. Time's not going to matter. There's going to be no sun, because there's no need for the sun, because God himself will be with us, and he will be the light of that city. You see, there's a great day awaiting for us, and that great day will be forever and forever. What makes it so great? Is it because we're going to be floating on clouds and we're going to be fed grapes by angels? No. What makes it so great is that we will be in the direct presence of the Lord, tabernacled with him. Just like he came and was with us, one day we will be with him forever. And that's what the Feast of Tabernacles represents, is the second coming of Christ and this millennial kingdom where he will rule here on this earth, but that will end with all of the earth being burned up and a whole new heaven and a whole new earth. And we will dwell there with him. No sin, no pain, no sorrow. I had a person message me just this morning. I read a message that somebody said. They said, Justin, I know that you lost your wife and you've been through a lot. And it seems like you've kept your faith. And they said, I've kept my faith too, but I prayed for my family. I prayed for our safety, and I still lost my family. I lost my home. I lost everything. And now I don't feel like I can pray. Now I don't feel like I can pray anymore. I don't want to pray because I feel like what I prayed for before ended and resulted in this. That's viable. I can understand somebody feeling that way. I'm not saying that I can't understand it, but what I am saying is this: God didn't cause somebody to lose their family. Sin caused. I'm not saying that person sinned and it's a direct action reaction. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's sin in the world. And so sin, the enemy, the devil, they are to blame for the problems and the trouble that we have. Why would we pin the bad things on God? We know that every good and perfect gift comes from God. And you see, we had this tendency to see something in our lives, and because we know that God could have somehow fixed it, and he could have snapped his fingers and the bad thing could have went away. He could have snapped his fingers. The truth is that the Lord could have breathed one word and my wife would have been healed. And certainly there's that question in my mind that says, why didn't you do that, Lord? But he didn't. He didn't do that. And that doesn't mean that I have to stop believing in him because some tragedy was on this earth, because that tragedy is not happening because of God. That tragedy is happening because of man. And God has promised me a better day. He has promised me ultimate healing. He has promised me a day where there will be no more tears, no more dying, no more cancer, no more sickness, no more heart disease, no more diabetes, no more shots, no more allergies, no more sneezing, no more separation, no more hatred, no more discrimination. There will be a day when all of that is gone. What will that day be? The day that we are with Christ. We will be with him in perfection. I hope that you enjoyed this series talking about the sacrifices of Israel, and I hope you come back tomorrow as we get more into Numbers chapter 29. It won't be in this Bible study, but it'll still be our Whole Truth Bible study series, and I hope you're joining me for those. All right, I'll see you then.